A man who wishes to make a profession of goodness in everything must necessarily come to grief among so many who are not good. Niccolò Machiavelli, welcome back to Surrealism. Today, we are discussing the most brutal law of human nature, a law that most people are too polite to admit, but everyone obeys. It is the geometry of perception. We are moving beyond the surface of vanity and entering the deep waters of biological signaling. Before you speak, before you offer value, before you ever shake a hand, you have already been judged. The world does not look at your heart, it looks at your frequency. If you look like prey, you will be hunted. If you look poor, you will be treated as invisible. Today, we strip away the authentic lies of the modern era. We are going to learn how to weaponize your image, hijack the human animal's dominance hierarchy, and wear the mask of the prince. Prepare yourself. We are about to dissect why the world punishes the appearance of lack with such cold violence, and how you can force reality to bend to your image. There is a cruelty in the human eye that remains unspoken in polite society. It is a silent, biological instinct that happens in less than a second. It is a primal calculation that bypasses the rational mind and speaks directly to the lizard brain. Before a single word "I" exchanged, a hierarchy has already been established in the room. In the world of the sovereign, there is no such thing as a first impression. There is only a first verdict. Machiavelli understood this 500 years ago with a chilling clarity. He warned us that the vulgar crowd is always taken in by appearances, and he reminded us that the world consists chiefly of the vulgar. I've felt this geometry at work in your own life. You have walked into a room and felt the temperature drop because your appearance did not command the space. You have seen eyes glide over you as if you were merely part of the furniture. You have seen lesser men, fools, cowards, and the wicked be handed the keys to the kingdom. They were given these opportunities simply because they looked like they belonged, while you were left standing at the gate despite your hidden brilliance. This is not bad luck or a cosmic mistake. This is the biology of the shortcut. The human brain is the most efficient machine in existence, and in nature, efficiency is often indistinguishable from laziness. The brain does not want to work harder than it has to. It does not want to dig through the mud of your unkempt appearance to find the gold of your character. It wants a visual answer to a simple binary question. Is this person a master or a servant? Appearance is the only answer the world has time to read. When you present yourself as slumped, disheveled, or apologetic, you are saving the world the trouble of judging you. You are handing the observer a verdict against yourself. You are saying, I have already given up, so you should give up on me too. Understand this. People do not despise the poor because they lack currency. They despise the poor because poverty reminds them of the possibility of their own failure. It reminds them of impotence and a lack of control over the material world. To the human animal, poverty is not a financial ledger. It is a cent, it is a signal of vulnerability, and nature has no mercy for vulnerability. When a man looks poor, he looks contagious to the collective. He is not contagious with disease, but with bad fortune. Humans are superstitious creatures by nature. We flee from the scent of bad luck because we fear it might stain our own lives. Consider the horn effect, the dark twin of the halo effect. If the mind perceives one negative trait, such as cracked shoes or a stained collar, it assumes the worst. It assumes all your other traits are equally negative. The world assumes you are lazy. It assumes you are unintelligent. It assumes you are fundamentally dishonest. Why? Because discipline is a visible phenomenon that cannot be faked over time. If you cannot govern the fabric on your back, the world assumes you cannot govern a legacy. To neglect your image is to commit slander against your own soul. You are telling a lie about your value to everyone you meet, and the world, being cruel and literal, has no choice but to believe you. We tell ourselves lies to sleep at night to protect our fragile egos. We say, I am authentic. I dress for comfort. I don't care what people think. This is the whole our language of the victim. Comfort is the enemy of power. Authenticity without authority is nothing but background noise. When you look poor, you have stripped yourself of your psychological armor. You have walked onto a battlefield naked. In the theater of war, the naked are never pitied. They are simply slaughtered. The geometry of the eye dictates that money flows to those who look like they do not need it. This is the great cold paradox of the material world. Go to a bank and ask for a loan while dressed in the fabric of desperation. Let your voice tremble with the weight of your actual need. The vault will close and you will be labeled a risk. Now, take a man who needs the money just as badly, but he enters in a tailored silhouette. His grooming is sharp and his movements are deliberate. He speaks with the boredom of a man who has 10 other options. The vault opens for him. He did not ask for help. He proposed an alliance. He signaled abundance. Humans follow the law of association in every interaction. We associate wealth with capability and poverty with incompetence. If you look like you need help, you will rarely find it. If you look like you can provide help, the world will throw resources at your feet. This is why the fake it till you make it ethos is not vanity. It is Machiavellian pragmatism. To look poor is to signal a drain on the resources of others. To look rich is to signal an investment opportunity. Nobody wants to pay a cost, but everyone wants to buy into an investment. If you refuse to play this game, you are not being real. You are being arrogant and naive. You are assuming the world owes you its time to discover your hidden value. The world owes you nothing but the ground you stand on. It is your duty to excavate your own value and paint it in gold so the blind can see it. Machiavelli advised the prince to be a great simulator of virtue. He must hide his true nature if it is disadvantageous and project. What is required? If you are hungry, you must look full. If you are anxious, you must look bored, because the moment the world smells the blood of your need, the sharks will begin to circle. The look of poverty is a limp in the animal kingdom. When a wolf sees a sheep that is limping, it does not feel empathy. It feels a kill instinct. Human society is just a sanitized version of this predatory dynamic. We do not use teeth, we use lawsuits, low-ball offers, and social exclusion. When you look poor, you are signaling that you have no allies and no resources. You are signaling that you are a low-risk target. This is why the poor are over-policed and underserved. They are safe to exploit because they look like they cannot fight back. To never look poor is to reclaim your power of deterrence. It is to build a psychological force field that makes predators hesitate. In that split second of hesitation where they wonder who you are, you win. You dictate the frame of the entire interaction. But if there is no hesitation, the attack becomes inevitable. Stop viewing your appearance as a chore or a vanity. It is a weapon of influence and a tool of war. Every morning you are dressing for a specific role in a grand play. You are casting yourself in the movie of your own life. Are you the extra, the victim, or the comic relief? Or are you the protagonist, the architect, and the threat? The wardrobe department is entirely in your hands. Yet so many of you are choosing the costume of the victim, and then you wonder why the script of your life is so tragic. Stop the slander of your own potential. Fix the signal you are sending to the world. Master the geometry of the eye. In the cold silence of the wilderness, a predator does not seek a fair fight. It seeks an opening. It scans the herd for the slight tremor, the heavy breath, or the uneven step. Human society has built cathedrals and skyscrapers, but it has not evolved past this animal instinct. When you walk into a boardroom, a bank, or a social gathering, you are being scanned by every lizard brain in the room. The look of poverty is the psychological equivalent of a limp in the tall grass. It is a signal that you lack the internal and external resources to defend your territory. Machiavelli observed that men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, because everyone can see you, but very few have the opportunity to feel who you really are. Everyone sees what you appear to be, while almost no one feels what you are. The world is not a courtroom where the evidence of your character is weighed with care and deliberation. The world is a high-speed marketplace of rapid-fire unconscious transactions. If you look diminished, you are signaling a high cost and a low return to every observer. Poverty, in the eyes of the collective, is perceived as a contagion of the spirit. People flee from a man who looks broken, not because they are inherently evil, but because they are terrified of his bad luck. We are superstitious creatures governed by ancient fears. We believe that failure is a shadow that can leap from one man to another through proximity. If you look like a victim, you are effectively inviting people to play the role of the victimizer. Consider the biology of the poverty gaze that betrays your status. It is the habit of breaking eye contact first when challenged. It is the submissive, apologetic tilt of the head in conversation. It is the nervous, high-pitched laughter used to fill the silence of a perceived superior. These are the biological markers of the low-status animal in any hierarchy. You can wear a $1,000 watch, but if you keep the poverty gaze, the world will still smell the surf in you. Machiavelli advised the prince that it is necessary to be a great simulator and dissimulator. This means you must be able to project the frequency of wealth, even when your vault is empty. Wealth is not just a balance in a bank account. It is a psychological state of unbothered presence. It is the ability to speak slowly, to move with deliberate purpose, and to occupy space without asking for permission. When you look poor, you are hyperactive and restless. You explain your actions too much because you fear being misunderstood. You try to please everyone in the room because you are afraid of conflict. You are signaling that you need their approval just to survive the day. Power, however, is fundamentally still. Power is the lion who does not need to roar to prove he is the undisputed king. He simply sits in his territory, and the forest rearranges itself around his stillness. The horn effect ensures that if you fail in your appearance, you are assumed to fail in everything else. Your collar is frayed and your shoes are dull. The observer automatically assumes your mind is frayed and your thoughts are dull. They assume you are disorganized in your private life. They assume you are desperate for any crumb of attention or money, and desperation is the ultimate, universal repellent of opportunity. Money, influence, and respect flow toward the fixed and away from the volatile. If you look like you are struggling to keep your own life together, no one will trust you to lead theirs. You must meticulously curate the artifacts of your physical existence. Every detail is a data point in the world's assessment of your value. The screen of your phone, the cleanliness of your fingernails, the crispness of your shirt, these are your metrics. A cracked phone screen is a screaming, digital alarm of poverty. It tells the world, I live with broken things and I lack the energy or the means to fix them. Do not live with broken things if you wish to be whole. They damage your internal psyche and erode your external authority. Machiavelli noted that the vulgar are always taken by appearances and by immediate results. In a world of 8 billion people, everyone is the vulgar. No one has the time or the interest to read your autobiography before they decide how to treat you. You must force the world to treat you with reverence by the sheer force of your visual signal. This is not a matter of vanity, it is a matter of strategic deterrence. By looking formidable, you make the perceived cost of attacking you seem far too high. You make the cost of ignoring you seem like a lost opportunity for the other person. You are not being fake, you are being the director of your own narrative. You are framing the shot so the world is forced to see only your strength. If you refuse to do this, you are choosing to be a victim of the geometry of perception. You are allowing the world's inherent laziness to define your total value as a M. And the serf inside you wants to be comfortable and unseen. The prince inside you knows that comfort is a luxury reserved for the dead. You must dress, speak, and move as the person you are currently becoming. The gold of reality always follows the crown of the mind. It is never, ever the other way around. There is a dark paradox in the movement of resources across the human landscape. Money and power flow toward those who look like they already possess them. This is not an accident, it is the alchemy of abundance. Humans are biologically wired to follow the law of association in every social transaction. We associate the visual signal of wealth with the internal reality of capability. We associate the visual signal of poverty with the internal reality of incompetence. If you walk into a negotiation looking diminished, you're essentially asking for charity. And charity is a cold, hard crumb given with a heart of contempt. But when you walk in looking formidable, you are offering an alliance between equals. Machiavelli understood that the prince must always appear to be full even when the granaries are empty. He knew that the moment you smell of need, sharks of the world begin their circling. Need is a scent that triggers the predatory reflex in the human animal. If a merchant cheats a man in a bespoke suit, he fears an immediate and crushing retribution. He fears that the man has expensive lawyers, powerful friends, and the resources to destroy a reputation with a single whisper. But if that same merchant cheats a man in rags, he fears nothing. Who will listen to the ragged man? Who will believe the man who cannot even maintain the fabric on his own back? By looking poor, you strip away your own power of deterrence. You make it safe for the world to exploit you. This is why the fake it till you make it ethos is not merely a modern platitude. It is an ancient Machiavellian survival strategy designed to bypass the gatekeeper. To look poor is to signal that you are a cost to everyone who meets you. To look rich, or at least to look disciplined, is to signal an investment. Nobody in the history of the world has ever wanted to pay a cost. Everyone in the history of the world wants to buy into an investment. When you curate your appearance, you are providing an insurance policy for the decision makers. If a manager hires a man who looks sloppy and that man fails, the manager looks like a fool. I should have known, they will say, just look at him. But if they hire a man who looks impeccable and he fails, the manager is forgiven. He looked the part, they will say. He fooled everyone. By looking the part, you lower the risk for others to bet on your success. This logic extends into the deepest parts of your social circle and the company you keep. Machiavelli warned that a prince is judged by the quality of the ministers he keeps around him. If they are capable and faithful, he is considered wise. If they are fools, he is considered a fool. You are the visual average of the 5 people you are seen with most often. If your flock looks poor, tired and defeated, the world assumes you are exactly the same. You must compartmentalize your loyalty from your optics. When you are on the battlefield of success, you must walk with other warriors. If you bring a jester to a war council, nobody will take your strategy seriously. The final and perhaps most potent signal of abundance is silence. The poor man is almost always noisy with his words and his movements. He feels a frantic need to fill every silence because silence makes the unintegrated mind anxious. In silence, he fears he is being judged, so he babbles to distract the observer. He reveals his plans, his insecurities, and his debts to anyone who will listen. He gives the world all the ammunition it needs to destroy him, and he calls it being open. Power, however, is silent and still. Look at the predator in the wild. The tiger does not announce its presence until the moment of the strike. The CEO at the head of the table is often the one who speaks the least. When you overtalk, you signal that your words are a common commodity with no value. You are inflating the supply and crashing the demand. To never look poor, you must master the art of the closed mouth and the steady gaze. When you silent, you become a blank canvas upon which others project their own fears and fantasies. They wonder, what is he thinking? Does he know something that I do not? In that vacuum of information, the world invents power and assigns it to you. But the moment you start complaining about the weather or the price of fuel, the spell is broken. You become mortal, common, and easily discarded. Stir the mask. Master the silence. Master the alchemy of your own image. You might argue that you cannot afford a tailored suit or the trappings of a king. You might say that your bank account dictates your inability to signal abundance. This is a fundamental failure of imagination and a surrender to the serf identity. Looking poor is rarely about the brand of your clothes or the price of your watch. It is about the meticulous maintenance of your reality. A man in a cheap $5 shirt that is crisp, white, and perfectly tucked looks wealthier than a man in a $1,000 designer hoodie that is stained and wrinkled. Discipline costs nothing but effort, yet it is the rarest currency in the world. Polishing your shoes costs you 20 minutes of time, not a fortune in go. Ironing your shirt costs you focus, not a high-interest loan. Keeping your fingernails clean, your hair sharp, and your body lean are investments of the will. When you are unkempt, you are signaling internal entropy and psychological chaos. You are signaling that you cannot control the basic elements of your own life. And if you cannot control your own entropy, why would the world believe? You can lead men. The wealthy, the powerful, and the sovereign look clean in a very specific biological sense. It is a hygiene that signals they are removed from the grime of the survival struggle. The poor look dusty. They look worn down by the constant friction of the hunt for scraps. You must scrub the dust of the struggle off your avatar every single day. It is in the details where first verdict is either won or lost. The heels of your shoes, the collar of your jacket, the clarity of your skin. Consider the cracked screen of a smartphone, a modern and screaming siren of poverty. It says to everyone who sees it, I broke this and I lack the resources or the care to fix it. It tells the world that you are comfortable living with broken things. Do not live with broken things, for they are the rot that spreads from the exterior to the interior. They tell your subconscious mind that you deserve brokenness and that you belong in the ruins. Machiavelli taught that the prince must appear compassionate, upright, and humane. Notice carefully that he used the word appear. You are the curator of the artifacts of your life, and you must frame the shot with intent. You drive a rusted, beaten car, park it around the corner and out of sight. Walk the last block with your head held high and your posture straight. Arrive on foot as a man of mystery, not as a driver of a wreck. This is not an act of deceit, it is an act of strategic framing. A photographer frames a shot to exclude the garbage can sitting just outside the light. You are the director of your own image, and it is your duty to crop out the garbage. If you invite a potential ally to dinner, do not take them to a place you cannot afford. Do not sweat over the menu or count the coins in your pocket while they watch you. That is the smell of poverty, the smell of a man who is being hunted by his bills. Take them to a simple coffee shop, buy 2 black coffees and drink them with the leisure of a monarch. Focus entirely on the conversation and pay the small bill with a steady hand and a smile. It is infinitely better to be the master of a small domain than the servant of a large one. Everything works against the man who looks poor because his body language is a scream of apology. It is the habit of shrinking when walking through a high-vaulted door. It is the habit of laughing nervously when someone of higher status makes a joke at your expense. These are the behaviors of a serf, a man who believes he is lucky just to be in the room. The world sees this apology and replies with the violence of exclusion. To break this cycle, you must train the body before you can hope to convince the mind. You must move with the speed of a man who is not paid by the hour. You must hold the gaze of others until they feel the weight of your assessment. You must kill the serf that lives inside your chest, for as long as he breathes, you are a slave. You see lottery winners who lose their millions in a matter of years. This happens because they never did the internal work of killing the serf. They bought expensive things, but they wore them with the visible apology of a thief. They looked poor in a Ferrari, and the world eventually stripped them of it to restore the natural order. The fake exterior has the power to reconstruct the real interior over time. By refusing to look poor, you are rejecting the identity of poverty itself. You are rejecting the script that says you were born to struggle and die in the shadows. You are declaring visually and physically that you are destined for the throne. The gold of the world will eventually follow the man who already looks like a king. We must confront the dark biology of the horn effect. It is the psychological shadow of the halo effect, and it is a weapon used against the unprepared. The human mind is built for snap judgments to ensure survival in a dangerous world. If you present one negative visual trait, the observer's brain assumes your entire character is flawed. If your shoes are cracked, the mind assumes your finances are in ruins. If your posture is collapsing, the mind assumes your spirit is defeated. If your skin is neglected and your hair is wild, the mind assumes your thoughts are chaotic. This is the violence of the visual. The world does not wait for you to prove why. Our worth. It assumes your worth based on the data you provide. Machiavelli observed that men are so simple and so much subject to their present needs. He knew that the person who deceives will always find someone who allows himself to be deceived. In the modern landscape, neglecting your image is an act of self-slander. You are telling a visual lie about your potential. You are signaling oh, the world that you have no discipline and no self-respect. And why should anyone respect a man who does not respect himself? Discipline is the only thing in the world that cannot be faked over a long period. A lean, fit body is a signal of thousands of hours of saying no to the easy path. Clean, well-maintained clothing is a signal of a mind that pays attention to detail, a steady unblin. King gaze is a signal of a soul that has nothing to hide. When you look poor, you are broadcasting that you are a high-risk asset. You are telling everyone that you are one crisis away from total collapse. This is why resources flee from you. The world is not a charity, it is a mechanism for the preservation of energy. Energy, in the form of money, trust, and time, flows toward low-risk centers. By looking the part, you are providing a psychological insurance policy for those who interact with you. If an investor backs a man who looks impeccable and that man fails, the investor's ego is protected. He can say, I made the right choice based on the evidence, he just had bad luck. But if he backs a man who looks like a mess and that man fails, the investor looks like a fool. The world will say, look at him. The signs of failure were written all over his face. By polishing your appearance, you are lowering the barrier for others to help you. You are making it safe for powerful people to be seen with you. Machiavelli advised the prince to avoid being hated, but he also knew that being common was just as dangerous. To be common is to be replaceable. To be replaceable is to be exploited. When you look poor, you are merging into the mass of the vulgar. You become part of the background noise of the struggle. But when you sharpen your visual signal, you create a disruption in the environment. You force the observer to stop their automatic scanning and focus on you. In that moment of focus, you have the opportunity to establish the frame of the relatio. Inship, do not argue with the unfairness of this law. You can argue with the law of gravity as you fall from a skyscraper, but it will not soften the ground. The world as it should be is a fantasy for the weak. The world as it is the playground for the sovereign. In the world as it is, the man who neglects his armor is asking for the blade. Vanity is not a sin, it is a survival mechanism. If you truly value your mind and your spirit, why would you house them in a ruin? To dress poorly is to signal that the product inside is not worth the packaging. Marketing is not lying. Marketing is a form of respect for the value you provide. If you are a man of brilliance, it is your duty to wrap that brilliance in gold. You must become the architect of your own perception. You must rate every signal until the world has no choice but to accept your version of reality. The mirror is a tool of war. Use it to prepare your mask. Let us go deeper into the cold reality of the animal brain. Dominance hierarchies are not social constructs invented by politicians. They are biological imperatives that have existed for hundreds of millions of years. Lobsters, wolves, primates, and humans. We all possess a neural circuit that scans for status. What happens when a predator in the wild sees a creature that is limping? Does it feel empathy? Does it think, poor creature, let me offer it my assistance? No, the limp triggers the kill instinct. Human society is merely a sanitized, high-resolution version of this ancient dynamic. We do not always tear throats with our teeth. In the modern world, we tear them with lawsuits, with ridicule, with social exclusion, and with low-ball offers. When you look poor, you are broadcasting a visual limp. You are signaling to every predator in the room that you have no allies. You are signaling that you possess no resources to defend your time or your reputation. You are signaling that if someone harms you, no one of import, ants will come to avenge you. This is the hidden reason why the poor are over-policed, overcharged, and underserved. They are perceived as low-risk targets. If a merchant cheats a man in a bespoke suit, he fears an expensive retribution. He fears that man has lawyers on retainer and powerful friends in high places. If a merchant cheats a man in rags, he fears absolutely nothing. Who will listen to the man who cannot even manage his own appearance? By looking poor, you strip away your own power of deterrence. You make yourself safe to exploit. I have seen men of immense intellect destroyed because they did not understand this biological law. They believed their work would protect them. They believed their loyalty to the firm would shield them. But they dressed like servants. And so they were eventually treated as servants. When the budget cuts came, the finger pointed to the man who looked like he couldn't fight back. Appearance is armor. It is a psychological force field that causes a predator to hesitate. In the game of power, hesitation is all the advantage you need. In that split second of hesitation where they wonder, is this man dangerous? You win. You have dictated the frame of the entire interaction. Machiavelli did not write about the world as it should be. He wrote about the world as it is. And in the world as it is, the man who neglects his armor is the first to fall. Who told you that appearance doesn't matter? Who told you that humble clothes are a sign of secret virtue? Usually, it is the people who want to keep you in your place. Or it is the people who have already given up on their own sovereignty. It's what's inside that counts is a platitude invented to comfort the invisible. Yes, your character matters for long-term retention, but appearance is the gatekeeper of access. Your interior is the product. Your exterior is the marketing. You can have a billion-dollar algorithm, but if you wrap it in garbage, no one will buy it. Marketing is not lying. It is an act of respect for the value you hold inside. If you treat yourself like a discount item, the world will bargain with you for a lower price. If you treat yourself like a rare artifact, the world will refrain from touching you with dirty hands. The discipline of the exterior eventually bleeds into the interior. Watch how your thoughts change when you stand straight and fix your grooming. You become more deliberate. You stop apologizing for your existence. The mask eventually becomes the face. The powerful man does not wait for a feeling of confidence. He constructs it through action. Every morning you are casting yourself in the movie of your life. Stop choosing the costume of the victim. We arrive now at the final layer of the Machiavellian mask, the total reconstruction of reality. To never look poor is not an act of vanity. It is the ultimate rejection of the victim identity. It is a declaration to the universe that you refuse to accept the script of the struggle. The poverty gaze is a psychological shackle that keeps you bound to the bottom of the hierarchy. It is the habit of hyperactivity, the need to explain, the need to justify, and the need to please. The poor man speaks to be heard, the sovereign speaks to be obeyed. Abundance is found in the economy of movement and the stillness of the spirit. When you are comfortable with silence, you signal that you do not need the approval of the room. When you move with the speed of a man who is not paid by the hour, you signal that your time is your own. Machiavelli noted that the lion does not need to roar to be feared. He simply needs to be present. You must kill the serf that lives in your chest, the one who feels lucky just to be invited. Replace him with the architect who knows that the room is lucky to have his presence. There is a final, loud signal of poverty that you must eradicate: noise. The poor man is noisy with his words, his complaints, and his digital footprint. He feels the need to fill every silence because he fears the judgment of others. He reveals his plans and his insecurities to anyone who will listen, effectively disarming himself. Power, however, is a closed system. Scarcity creates value, therefore, make your presence and your words scarce. Make your words like diamonds, rare, hard, and capable of cutting through the noise. When you are silent, the world projects its own insecurities onto you and begins to perform for your favor. This extends to your digital existence. The man who posts his every meal is a man starving for validation. The man who is rarely seen, but always impactful when he appears, is the man who owns his narrative. You must scrub the dust of the struggle from your life entirely. It is in the cracked screen, the rusted car, and the company of defeated men. If your circle looks like a flock of victims, the world will treat you like the average of that flock. This requires a hardness of heart and a surgical approach to your social optics. Machiavelli warned that a prince is judged by the quality of ministers he keeps around him. If you walk with warriors, you are assumed to be a warrior. If you walk with jesters, you will be treated as the entertainment. This is the alchemy of the outlier. The fake exterior eventually reconstructs the real interior. By refusing to look poor, you stop being poor in the only place that matters, your mind. When you dress with power, the world treats you respect. When you are respected, you are given access. Access leads to resources, and resources lead to true sovereignty. The mask summons the face, and the gold of reality eventually follows the king who wears the crown. Do not wait for permission to be great. Do not wait for the vault to open to polish your image. Dazzle the world with the vision of who you are becoming today. The choice is yours, and the judgment of the world is coming in every second and every glance. Will they see a victim, or will they see a master? Final dramatic image of a silhouette against a rising sun. You now understand the law of the geometry of perception. But understanding is only the beginning. Execution is the abyss where most men fail. There are deeper psychological triggers, techniques too. Dangerous for the open algorithm, methods of dark psychology that can make a giant kneel and a pauper look like a prince. These maps of the human psyche are reserved for those who are ready to cross the threshold. If you have eyes to see, click the join button and step into the architect level. Unlock the uncensored deep dives into the mechanics of power and the manipulation of reality. The algorithm suppresses the truth, we reveal it. Subscribe to Surrealism. The illusion ends, your rule begins.